Stroke deep center field. Torres chasing and is gone, and the party is on in the Hub City. And he launches this one into the trays. Goodbye. And add to it. Straight to the roost. And whoever operates the horn has been standing on it.
Hey, Golden Eagle fans, I'm Southern Miss Stadium announcer Jackson Walker, and you're listening to Nasty Bunch and Beyond.
How's it going, y'all? Welcome in to another episode of Nasty Bunch and Beyond. I'm your host, Dalton Trigg. You can find me on X at Dalton_Trigg. You can find the pod account on Instagram and Twitter as well. You can also find our Facebook page, Southern Miss Golden Eagles on SI on Facebook. We post all of our written content, quote graphics, occasional highlight videos, stuff of that nature. So be sure to go and find us there. Greatly appreciate all the support we've got, not just for the podcast itself, but for the website as well. I really have enjoyed it so far. There's always that. You always have a little bit of doubt when you jump into something where it's like you've been a fan for so many years and you've watched and invested so much into something, and when you go to take that next step to do something like this that's technically media related, it's like, do you really want to mesh those two together? Is it going to take something out of it? It hasn't. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been a great time, and we're going to keep building this thing going forward. It's been awesome so far, and it's just baseball season too. Baseball season has been outstanding. Baseball has been the first full season that we've been doing all this stuff, podcast and writing wise together. And I can't wait until we get into football and basketball for those full seasons of coverage too. So a lot of great stuff. And look, we mostly do baseball, football, basketball, but we do some other things as well. My guy, Charlie Lanehart, intern for the site. He has had some really nice exclusive pieces this calendar year. He's done some softball stuff. He had a really nice exclusive interview with Felix Lakota of the men's golf team that, is in their first ever NCAA regional. So be sure to go to Southern Miss Golden Eagles on SI and check all that out. Before we get started, a lot of exciting baseball stuff to talk about. As always, I just want to let you guys know that this episode is brought to you by our partners at To The Top Collective. Be sure to go to tothetopcollective.com and consider joining there to make a direct impact in the lives of Southern Miss student athletes, which in turn makes an impact in Southern Miss athletics. So be sure to go try and do that. Shantyman Premium Jerky. I'm telling you guys right now, if there was ever a time to order some Shantyman beef jerky, if you're planning to make the trip this weekend, if you can't go early in the week to Montgomery and you're going later this weekend, you could 2-day ship yourself some Shantyman premium jerky like I did. I got several packs of the dill pickle flavored jerky heading my way for the road trip. So this would be a great time to sample it and let me know what you think. But shantymanfoods.com is where you can find that at. And if you use our promo code SMTTT, you'll get 30% purchase there. And then last but certainly not least is To The Top merch. They have great stuff. You can go to tothetopmerch.myshopify.com. Use our promo code NastyBunchPod there to get 20% off your entire purchase there. So it's like this hat I've got on right here. It says Southern on the front. It's the vintage Southern. It has To The Top on the back of it. Lots of good stuff to choose from over there. So be sure to go do that. Guys, another excellent weekend. Couldn't have ended any more perfect for Golden Eagles in the regular season, on an absolute tear, 3 consecutive sweeps. So 9 wins in a row heading into postseason play. The bats have stayed hot. The pitching is outstanding. Overall, everybody's probably heard it by now, but 35 strikeouts for the pitching staff to 0 walks over the weekend against Georgia Southern. Absolutely incredible, outstanding stuff. So, went into the weekend knowing that there was a chance. I talked about on some of the previous pods about how, Coastal hadn't been playing their best. They were going into a very tough road series against a, Louisiana Raging Cajuns team that had been playing really good baseball here of late. And, all we could do is just take care of our business and beat the team in front of us and just see how it turned out. And that's how it worked. The Golden Eagles went out there. They took care of Georgia Southern. It was, blowout after blowout on the weekend. Won 14-3 in the first game, 10-1 in the second game, and then 11-0 in the third game. And then, the Cajuns and Coastal, they split the first 2 games. And so the rubber match started an hour after the series finale for Southern Miss and Georgia Southern. So after the run rule win, we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a second, there was plenty of time to drive home or to get in the car and listen on the radio to Coastal Carolina and Louisiana, who I think at the time our last game ended, it was still in like the 5th inning. So there was still a lot to go, but the Cajuns had like a 3-1 lead. Everybody was excited seeing how it was going to go. So, but yeah, Louisiana hangs on. They beat the Chanticleers in that rubber match. They take the series, which means, Southern Miss gets their first ever outright Sun Belt regular season championship. Awesome stuff. I mean, I've got to say, I've got to eat some crow, because several weeks ago, I think a month and a half ago, maybe, it was back when Coastal Carolina had I want to say it was maybe a 7-game lead or something like that in the standings. And it just, with the way the momentum was rolling, you looked at the schedule and you didn't really think hey, I don't know if it's not about Southern getting hot and winning enough games down the stretch. You just didn't know if Coastal was going to lose enough games down the stretch for it to make that much of a difference. But like I said, I've got to eat crow. I mean, it obviously worked out. I mean, this is why you never say anything definitively in baseball, especially college baseball, because anything can happen. And it certainly did in this case. Just a unreal chase down for the Eags in the Sun Belt standings to catch Coastal Carolina. And they would have had a share of the Sun Belt regular season championship regardless of what happened. But I'm very glad, thankful to our frenemies to the west, the Cajuns, for handling business and making that a non-issue. So shout out to them, and shout out to the guys and Coach Oz and everybody within that program who have turned this, well, maybe not turned it into it, but they have taken what was already a special program, special team, tradition, all that, and they have just further enhanced it. So you don't do that without special people, and that's exactly what has happened here in Hattiesburg, and it's continuing to happen. So not only do we get the regular season Sun Belt title, but it extended the nation's longest 40-win season streak to 10, by far the longest in the nation. It's just excellent stuff. I mean, this is not normal. And I know it's kind of it's happened so much now that it has become the normal for us. But, I wrote about it after that last game. We don't need to take this for granted. This is not normal, no matter how often it's been happening lately. And we think it's the new normal, because you never know how things can go in the future. And we need to be savoring all this while while we can, because this is the golden era for Southern Miss baseball, and it's great to see. So, but yeah, look, great weekend overall. It was great to secure that championship. Like I mentioned, the pitching was outstanding. The 35 strikeouts to 0 walks. Graydon Harris finished the season with an 8-1 record. He got the win on Thursday to start that series. 8 strikeouts, 2 hits, only 1 run given up in five innings. He could have gone longer, but he didn't have to because the game was so out of hand. And so he got to that 75 pitch mark, and Coach Oz decided to pull him. But great stuff from Graydon Harris, per usual. He ended up getting the Sun Belt Pitcher of the Year. Greatly deserved honor for him. Camden Clark on the Friday game, again, another blowout. He got the win, improved to a perfect 8-0 on the year. Had 9 strikeouts, 5 hits, 1 run given up in 5 innings. But again, those 9 strikeouts in 5 innings, I mean, he fills it up, and he is just on an absolute tear now. So that's 2 consecutive weekends where 3 consecutive weekends where Clark has at least 9 strikeouts. He had exactly 9 this past weekend, the weekend before, and then the weekend before that, he had the 15 strikeout performance. So great stuff from him, per usual. And then Camden Sundstrom, I thought, was really good in that final game. He ended up getting the win. He finishes the year 6-3 overall, had 4 strikeouts, only 3 hits given up, no runs in 5 innings. So all the starting pitchers did their job this weekend, the past weekend, and, none of them had to extend themselves past 5 innings, and that was mainly just because of the situation with the score, and you don't want to risk injuring somebody before postseason play. So great stuff all around from the starters. Some key reliever notes here. So Cross Sibley, who, shout out to him. I have a piece coming out about him at Southern Miss Golden Eagles on SI. It'll either be later today on Tuesday, May 19th. It'll either be that evening, or it'll be sometime early on Wednesday morning. But I've got a piece coming out about him. Got a chance to ask him a few questions about not only his emotions during senior weekend, but, the fact that he is closing in on 100 career appearances on the mound, which is, it's something that's only happened 2 other times in Southern Miss history. So you got Tyler Key, who played at Southern from 1995 to 1999. And then you have Colin Cargill from 2008 to 2011. So those 2 guys, and Tyler Key had 105 appearances. Colin Cargill had 103 appearances. And Cross Sibley is currently in 3rd place at 98. So unless something crazy happens, he's for sure going to cross that 100 mark. And that's rarefied air for Southern Miss pitchers. And it just goes to show you how, if you're gritty, if you, stick to it, if you have good coaches around you and, guys supporting you, you can do something special like what we've seen with Cross. And you can tell he is just very thrilled that he's been able to stay at Southern Miss his entire career and have this kind of longevity. So be on the lookout for that. In the Friday game, the senior day, Cross came in for the last 3 innings of that game, had 4 strikeouts, only gave up 1 hit, no runs in those last 3 innings, got a save. It was his 3rd save of the year. Thought he was outstanding. And then Colby Allen, instead of following up Graydon Harris in the first game, they saved him for the last game. I'm sure that was kind of strategic. But, they brought him in for the last 2 innings of that run rule win, and just absolutely nails for Colby Allen. And it was emotional. He came out of the pen, the lights flashing, Safari song playing. He was obviously a little emotional. He said he got chills as he opened the bullpen gate to come out. And couldn't have asked for anything more. I mean, Colby Allen just doing Colby Allen things. 5 strikeouts through those 2 innings, no hits, no runs. So just a perfect performance for him out of the pen. And look, I get it. I mean, this is Georgia Southern we're talking about. We knew the numbers coming in, but we also know that despite all the numbers pointing to this should have been a sweep for Southern Miss, they also had the number 3 batting average in the conference, and they stole a game from Coastal a few weeks back when they played them. So nothing was a given. You had to go out there and do it, even though you're expected to do it. And shout out to those pitchers for keeping their foot on the gas, because this is what you like to see from a team that's in the top 10 rankings and getting really hot heading toward the postseason. Like ESPN's Mark Jones says, during NBA basketball games, if somebody gets hot, he says he's hotter than fish grease. That's the Golden Eagles right now. Hotter than fish grease. Like it's hard to stop them right now, and I hope that continues on into the conference tournament. But let's talk about offense a little bit. 41 hits on the weekend, 35 total runs, 8 homers. Dre Barrett had the highlight in the first game of the series. He had a grand slam. My guy Jason Baker on that, which I didn't hear it in real time because I was in the lounge, the 16-ounce lounge. But I went back and listened to the replays of that after the game, and he reverse jinxed it. So shout out to JB for doing that. He said that Dre Barrett has never had a grand slam in his Southern Miss career, and then literally the next swing it was a grand slam. So that was excellent work by JB. He needs to continue that into the conference tournament here. Speaking of Dre Barrett, he got the final Sun Belt Player of the Week honors after he batted .556 over the weekend. Slugging percentage was 1.333. Had 7 RBIs. He was unbelievable. And it's really not just this weekend. Like over the last, I think, 7 or 8 games, he is batting near 500. He has absolutely been on a tear. And if you're Coach Oz, I don't know even if the hamstring is completely healthy, given how he's been playing in this designated hitter role, I think you got to consider just leaving him there. I get it. Ty is awesome at third base. Now, obviously, there may be a couple plays he can't make at times, and I think that's mainly just because of experience. Being thrown in at the end of the year here. I don't know, man. I think Ty is good enough at third base to where you leave him there and you benefit from having a guy like Dre Barrett as your designated hitter, a spot that you've struggled to find consistency with all season. So I would be okay with seeing that being the full-time move here. But yeah, Dre Barrett, he's been awesome. Shout out to Seth Smith. He's kind of like Swiss Army knife, can do it all. Obviously, he's been great at shortstop, which he's grown so much in that role throughout the year as he's gotten more experience. But then, hitting wise, he's stayed above 300 batting average all year. And then he showed that he can have a little bit of a power surge too over the weekend. Had solo homers in, I think maybe the second one may have been more than a solo homer. He had 1 solo homer, and I think the other one may have had somebody on base. But anyway, he had 2 homers on the weekend, and that's just something you don't expect from Seth Smith, who had 2 on the entire season coming into the weekend, and he doubled his home run total in 2 games. So, and there were no doubters too. It wasn't like it just barely scraped over. Like it was no doubters to the right field roof. So, shout out to Seth Smith. He's been awesome. Matthew Russo, absolutely. You couldn't have asked for a better ending. Now, look, I get it. We know that this likely isn't over. So, the the Golden Eagles are probably going to have a regional in Hattiesburg. Now, what happens beyond that regional, we don't know yet because it's still up in the air. D1 baseball has Golden Eagles ranked 8th, but then they come out and they release these national seed projections, and the Golden Eagles aren't in that top 8. It's kind of confusing to me. I don't understand the logic behind it. I went and listened and tried to, hear them out on their reasoning behind it. I just don't really get it. I feel like if a team is going to be ranked top 8 in the nation, then that needs to be considered a national seed. I mean, if you're ranked 8th, then you should be a national seed. I don't understand why there's separate rankings for that. But anyway, we don't know what's going to happen past the regional, but pretty sure it's pretty set in stone at this point that the Golden Eagles will at least be hosting the first round, the regionals in Hattiesburg. But as far as a regular season finale, Matt Russo, man, what a storybook ending! With 2 guys on and a chance to run rule, walk off Georgia Southern, he absolutely destroyed a ball to right center. Went 412 feet, 109 miles per hour off the bat, just absolutely destroyed it. And, shout out to Attack Eagles on social media and to the Top Talk as well. Those were the 2 videos I saw where they had, the Moneyball track or the song music playing in the background and the swing, and it's all quiet and everything. If you hadn't seen it, you got to go see it because it'll give you chills. Big Moneyball fan, and it was great to see that collab with the Russo home run. But man, Russo, he stayed hot. All of the guys that have been playing great lately just stayed on a tear. Ben Higdon was great over the weekend. Joey Urban was great. Kyle Morrison, Russo, Barrett, Smith, all of them were fantastic. I thought Davis Gillespie was fine. He probably didn't have as great of a weekend as what you would have expected from him, but you can't have everybody firing on all cylinders. But, man, so many weapons for this team heading into Montgomery, and I'm super excited to see how it turns out. So, again, Harris got Sunbelt Pitcher of the Year. Barrett got Sunbelt Player of the Week. And then Coach Oz. Shout out to Coach Oz for getting the Sunbelt Coach of the Year. Not a surprise. He more than deserves it. To just have the ability to recruit the way he does and then to plug holes the way he has with the transfer portal without going too crazy with it, I think just speaks volumes to his eye for talent and his understanding for we don't want to mess with team chemistry too much. And he keeps the right guys in that locker room and in that dugout. So shout out to Coach Oz. Heck of a coach, arguably on his way to being the greatest of all time at Southern Miss. And, he's just continuing to stack success after success. So shout out to him. Sunbelt all-conference teams, first team, Russo, Gillespie, Morrison, Harris, and Clark all got first-team nods. Second team, Colby Allen got the nod. I'd argue that Colby would have probably gotten a first-team nod if, he had started off the year in his regular bullpen role instead of going through that starting phase, which he was fine at, but it just wasn't as high level as what he is in the bullpen. So, he probably would have been first team if it hadn't been for that. But no Camden Sundstrom is crazy to me on either team because he had a 2.5 ERA. He was absolutely incredible all season long, and his record at 6-3 should be. But let's be honest, Camden Sundstrom's record should be 8-1 instead of 6-3. There were a couple games there where he pitched his tail off and was outstanding, and then there just wasn't enough offense or relief pitching down at the end of those couple games to pull it across the finish line. But I thought he was outstanding all season long and thought he was definitely deserving of at least a second-team spot there. So that was kind of shocking to me that he wasn't on there. But now we turn our attention to Montgomery. The Sun Belt tournament begins today. It's probably going to, at least one of the games is going to be underway by the time this episode is live. And the first game is going to be between Marshall and Louisiana Raging Cajuns. It starts at 4 p.m. on Tuesday. Louisiana is the 7 seed. Marshall's the 10 seed. And then game 2 on Tuesday will be at 7:30 Tuesday night against 8 seed Old Dominion and 9 seed Georgia State. And it's a single elimination portion of the tournament here on Tuesday. So since the Golden Eagles got the number 1 seed, they will play the lowest, or I guess the highest, I don't know how you would say that, but the worst seed remaining out of the single elimination round. That's who the Golden Eagles will play on Wednesday. So if somehow Marshall beats Louisiana, then the Golden Eagles will 100% play Marshall on Wednesday. But, if Louisiana beats Marshall, then the Golden Eagles will play the winner of Old Dominion versus Georgia State on Wednesday. And then, on Wednesday, going past that, we're kind of playing it by ear right now, because I'm going to be honest with you, that that bracket that Sunbelt tweeted out or put on Facebook and all the other social media channels, that was kind of hard to follow at first, but we're going to play it by ear. I've got through Wednesday figured out, and then we'll figure out the rest as we go from there. But very excited to get to Montgomery. Not going to be able to get there for this early part of the tournament, but driving up to Montgomery on Friday, and hopefully going to be a great full weekend of championship level baseball. And right now the Golden Eagles are the odds-on favorite at plus 180 to win it. Coastal is still a second favorite, not too far behind at plus 260, even though they've been slumping here lately. We'll see how it goes. I think despite Coastal having its struggles, I think they probably, pick it up and make a run to the finals, and we meet up with them again, just like last year. And if that's the case, we have a good shot to get our get back against them, because I thought, even though they had an outstanding pitching staff last year and they were very deep, we should have beat them in the Sun Belt Conference Championship last year, and we just had that one disaster inning where we gave up like 4 or 5 runs in the middle of the game, and we just couldn't fully recover from it. So I think we're more well-rounded this year. I think we've got more, we've shown that we're not as dependent on the long ball as we were last year. The home run numbers are like way down from what they were last year. They're still, they're respectable for sure. They're top, near the top of the conference as far as home run numbers, but not near as dependent on that this year as we were last year, in my opinion. So, a lot more versatility, and I think that's going to help us get over the hump this time. And if we do like what I'm thinking we're going to do and run the table in this tournament, and not only have the regular season outright championship, but then the Sun Belt tournament championship, then you have to really put the pressure on the selection committee, especially if you're Jeremy McClain, who is part of the committee. He better be banging the table for Southern Miss to be a national seed, if we do what I think we're going to do and run the table and win this Sun Belt Conference championship, tournament championship, because there's not going to be too many resumes that are going to be as good as what Southern's, especially considering that we control our non-conference schedule. Some of these SEC teams just had absolute cupcake non-conference schedules. And yet, there's still some talk of some of those teams being, in those last two national seed spots. And if you put the numbers up against each other, I think Southern Miss has as good of a resume as anybody. I don't care if they're in the SEC or the Sun Belt or whatever. They made a tough non-conference schedule. They did great with it, and they have gotten hot at the right time. Yeah, they stumbled a little bit in the middle of the season. Everybody has a cold spell every now and then, but this is an elite team playing great baseball, and if they sweep having the regular season Sun Belt Championship and the conference tournament championship and go into selection day on probably a 12, 13 game win streak, whatever it ends up being, I don't see how the committee can leave us out as a national seed. So we'll see how it goes. Everybody's saying that, Coastal had a great run last year like that too, and they ended up being the 13 seed, but their non-conference strength of schedule wasn't nearly as high as what ours is this year. So I don't know if that's going to hold enough weight or not, but we'll see how it goes. But I'm very excited. I think this is just such a fun time. I had a great time, last year in Montgomery too, even though it didn't end the way we wanted it to. But hope to see a lot of you out there. Hope to see the guys do well, and maybe we'll come back to Hattiesburg with, another trophy. So, guys, I appreciate y'all coming in and listening every single week. Really do appreciate it. Like I said, we have grown a lot in a short period of time, and, that's the hope. We can continue to grow going forward and continue to shed a light on all of Southern Miss athletics and have fun along the way while we're doing it. So, y'all have a great rest of your day. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you in Montgomery.